Steve and Jill here.
Hi.
Welcome to the Land Academy Show, entertaining land investment talk. I'm Stephen Jack Butella.
And I'm Jill DeWitt, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I talk about tax deed investing explained.
You know what? I have been really looking forward to this show.
Why is that?
I was actually being sarcastic. Sorry.
It's
a great way. I know I'm happy we're doing it. It's a very great way to do what we do, however, it's not my most exciting thing.
Jill gets to take a break and read a magazine during these kinds of shows. But I'll tell you what I'm going to cover here. One of the greatest things about tax deed and tax lien investing is that if you're just starting out, or if you run a Wall Street fund, they're great vehicles to, by any measure, to make a ton of money. Specifically, if you're starting out, it doesn't take any money. You can literally buy a couple of tax deed property and own the property for $200 or $300 or less. Mm-hmm. Double your money, and pretty soon you're on your way. So it's a huge opportunity. It's also pretty complicated. So if you're a relatively intelligent person and you figure this stuff out, utilize the resources all over the internet, including ours, there's not a lot of competition. And I'm going to read you the stats and stuff once we get into the show. They're pretty staggering.
So is it safe to say, though, if you're just starting out, this takes a little bit of work? You may not want to start here, even though it sounds attractive.
Well, let's just say if you have a full-time job and a couple of kids running around the house, like all of us did or do, it's going to take you about 6 months of research before you actually start writing checks.
There you go.
On both the buy side and the sell side. And that's if you're doing everything right. So I don't know. I don't want to scare everybody here, but real estate investing is not for a C- high school student.
That's really good. And that's true.
Before we get into it, let's take a question posted by one of our members on the landinvestors.com online community. It's free.
Danny asks, hello, I just heard shocking news that Zillow requires proof of ownership, such as the signed warranty deed or county tax record with my name, in order to verify the submitted listings. I have recently succeeded in getting a bunch of option deals for the first time, and I do not own anything yet. I want to market the property first in order to purchase them eventually. Here are my questions. Number one, what are the ways I can market the properties for option purchase if not Zillow? Number two, they mentioned that if I want to market properties I do not own, I need to use MLS in order to post it on Zillow. Is hiring a real estate agent or getting the license by myself an inevitable element of option purchase? This is a lot of work he's looking at, man.
All the shows this week have pretty detailed and hyper-focused questions.
Okay, I'm going to have you. If you don't mind, I'm getting over a cold, so you probably can tell my head's a little foggy, so you already lost me at question one. So,
I'll help you.
Okay. Number three.
Kevin helps us here, too.
Oh, good. Is it wrong to focus on doing many option deals instead of simple cash sales for beginners like me? Thanks. Oh, this is good. A lot of our members replied in, so I'm going to read some of those.
Want me to do it?
Okay.
Joe responds, Zillow just asks you if you own it when you call, and I say yes. It's not wrong to focus on option deals when you don't have a ton of money. Why? Because you don't have a ton of money. Jack Bosch's group teaches people to do nothing but buy options. Some people might say you can just use deal funding for any big deals. I say that you need to have one mother of a deal with a huge spread to get it deal funded. Options are a good way to fund your own deals with little or no money. They let you stack up lots of at-bats. This is good. They let you stack up lots of at-bats. They're also a good way to get to know an area that you haven't worked in before. They take a long time, and some of them don't work, but they're worth it in the long run. And so now Kevin, our moderator, responds, Danny, Zillow is a bit odd to deal with on land ads. And this is the real value here. They call and want to verify the ad, and they give me some vague description of 5 acres in Socorro County when I have 10 of them. Mm-hmm. So this has been exactly my experience with Zillow, by the way. When I can't give them a street address, or if I ask the question to clarify, they hang up. I gave up advertising on Zillow 2 years ago. So did I, Kevin. Mm-hmm. It's not worth the headache for me. You can advertise on Craigslist, and in some states, selling land on an option may be construed as representing the sale of land for someone else. And realtors will come down on you. That's right.
It's true.
You need to have a license for that, technically. But you will figure it out. And again, he's exactly right. You can do these land deals, and you will find out what advertising works for you. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're both saying is, in my opinion, just figure it out, man. If we, don't quote me on this, if all of us in this group really didn't have the entrepreneurial spirit,
Right.
and we were reading out of a manual, and we never veered from exactly what happened in that manual or what the rules are anywhere, we would all be broke in 2 weeks.
And we didn't know how to adjust and change and figure it out and
Yes.
get creative. We wouldn't make it. I'm also going to add too that if it's one of the easiest ways, instead of doing one-offs like this, it's just if you've got a good enough property, spend the $100 to $300, whatever it costs, and get it on something like, Broker Direct MLS, and it'll automatically syndicate for you. You still might have that phone call eventually, but it's going to hit, 20 to 40 places where it's syndicated, and you don't have to do the individual work.
Yeah. The MLS, the way that the internet is in the last 24 months, is more and more increasingly becoming a place to sell land. Mm-hmm. When we started in the real estate business, it was impossible for us to even get anything on the MLS unless we hired a full price real estate agent. And back then, it was too expensive. It cost us 6 to 10%.
Or they didn't want to do our deal too because the commission was too small. They're like, "What am I? I don't want 3% of 10,000."
Yeah. So, and that was before Land.com. It was before LandWatch. I mean, we were really, really, one hand tied behind our back. Mm-hmm. This day and age, we've got probably 10 plus places to post property. And I'll tell you, the real answer to this question is post it everywhere.
Yep.
Post it everywhere. And after about 20 deals, you're going to say, man, Craigslist is perfect for this area. Or even eBay.
Right.
Jill and I have tons of property on eBay constantly. Do we maximize the price when we sell it? No. Quite honestly, we probably sell everything for way too cheap, but the machine moves. The train just keeps moving on eBay. So you'll figure it out.
It's funny you just said, I bet if we could, it'd be fun to play this game like on maybe one of our weekly member calls, see how many places we can come up with just off the top of our heads to post property. I bet that we'd have like 30 to 50 because there's 10 alone on social media.
I mean, we're getting reports back now because Parcel Fact 2.0 is out, that all people do is buy a piece of property, and then they go on to Parcel Fact, find out who owns all the properties around it, and they send them a letter. And they sell property that way. So I personally haven't done that yet. I don't know why. That's probably because we have to produce the show every week. Today's topic, tax deed investing explained. This is the meat of the show. Tax deeds, depending on your personality type, can be the greatest thing or the worst thing that could happen to your real estate investing career.
I'm comfortable with my personality type. Are you comfortable with yours?
What is your personality
type? That tells us
type?
right there that I am not. I love selling these when they're done. It's the whole process of getting them done, because there's a lot of steps.
Well, tax deeds. This is tax deeds.
Okay.
Tomorrow's tax liens.
Okay.
See? Personality type.
Thank you. I'm out. Just kidding.
Here's the difference. I'm going to name the states that are tax deed states, and tomorrow I'm going to name the states that are tax lien states. But here's the difference between the two. There's 31 tax deed states, by the way. I'll name them in a second. Tax deeds are every county in every state has a set of rules for when property owners stop paying their taxes. And so I'm sure you're sitting there saying, why the heck would anyone stop paying their taxes on a perfectly good piece of property? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is because they're dead. They're dead, and their heirs, maybe they didn't have any heirs, or people in general just don't estate plan, and the kids or the heirs never knew that they had the property. It's shocking to me how many old guys have property that no one knows about because they have some plan in their head to use it someday, and it just never comes to fruition. So, or there's huge disputes. Maybe there's a big dispute in a family, 22 people on the property, and no one can get along. So everyone stops paying the taxes. So there's a lot of reasons why people stop paying the taxes. In a tax deed state, let's just use California as an example, a certain amount of time passes, several years actually, the county sends notice after notice after notice to the owner of record on the assessor database The no response, no response. Then they start sending certified mail for maybe a year, no response. And there's state statutes that dictate what has to happen. And so in California, state statutes say, and all tax deed states say, the taxing authority, which is always the county, takes in very, very few situations it's the city. The county takes the property back into its possession, and literally the deed says state of California or state of Arizona or state of New Jersey. Then there's a statutory process for them to get rid of it. That's tax deed investing, where I would go buy the property. Sometimes it's a live auction with a gavel, like it's 1978. Sometimes they haven't now. California has, almost all counties in California have their online auctions. It's essentially the same as a gavel auction, but it's online and it's like televised on bid for assets, BID number 4 assets.com. And it's almost perpetual. I just read right before recording this that 3,000 tax deeds and liens are purchased every single day. So this never goes away. Every year, new tax deeds and tax liens come up. It's a fantastic way if you're like an engineering type, aerospace type, or dated person. It's a fantastic way to buy properties that are worth 30, 40, 50, $100,000 for 2 cents on the dollar, sometimes less than $1,000. Often less than $1,000. So, I mean, every single time, even at this point in my career, I go through these lists.
Can I ask some questions?
Go through these lists, and I'm shocked that no one's purchased this property yet. Yeah, go ahead.
Would I know this when I'm staring at a treasurer's deed? That's where it came from?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Joe, that's exactly right.
I know. I'm not that out of it. I know, but yeah. Thank you. Also, I'm trying to think of questions that have come to me that people have asked. What if I bought from a treasurer's deed and now I'm turning around and selling the property and I got a phone call from a guy that says, wait a minute, that's mine.
Yeah.
What do I do with them?
What do you do? So explain it to me again. What happens?
We went through the process. I'm thinking of some questions that our members have asked us. So say I went through the whole process. I did it all correctly. We all know it's probably like 8 years at this point.
You mean the seller did?
Hold on a moment. I bought it from the county. I have a treasurer's deed. I own it, by the way. That treasurer's deed essentially wipes everything out. I mean, and that's official. So when I have a guy that...
She means all the liens,
right.
Potential liens.
Exactly. It's kind of starting fresh. I like these because of that. It's technically starting fresh. So I have Joe Schmo says, hey, that's my property. What are you doing? Selling it. Just referring back to the county.
If Joe Schmo comes up and says, hey, that's my property, and you bought it at a tax sale,
yep.
First of all, in all the tax deals I've ever done, both lien and deed, this has never happened.
That's not happening. But people come up with these questions, so I'm just trying to address it right now.
You would just say, look, I bought it at a tax sale, and I would recommend that you get an
Call the
attorney.
county.
Have your attorney call. Just always, not just in this situation, when anybody comes up with some kind of thing like this, my answer is always to give them something to do. And then they'll just go away 9 times out of 10. So what I would say in that case, I would say, yeah, I bought it at a tax sale last year. It's all fair and square, and I would recommend that you get an attorney and have them call me. And if you think that you own this in any way, there's a legal proceeding and a process, and I'm happy to see you in court. I've got 9 lawyers, so let's go. And then they would never hear from them again. Because that's all true, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus.
No, it's okay. It's just a little bit. Tax lien and deed investing is very deep and complicated, and there's like bachelor's degree, master's degree, and PhD level stuff. And so, on a silly little show like we have here, I'm just trying to skip along the top. And
I understand.
It's an introduction to tax lien, tax deed investing explained kind of thing. That's what I should have called it.
Okay. Can you explain with over the counter?
Yeah, so that's a great point. So
thank you.
You just heard me explain how the taxing authority has a gavel auction and they sell all this property. Very, very often, none of it sells. It doesn't sell at all. There's people sitting in the audience, let's say, they just don't bid on the property for whatever reason, or the property's really bad. There's a lot of slivers of property out there that have APNs associated with them that the owner of record gets a tax bill every year and says, I don't want this property. It's a sliver piece of garbage. You see this a lot in urban counties versus rural. Then they go to what's called an over-the-counter list. That's what it's called out west. There's a lot of different, that's the end of the line. A lot of different descriptions for it back east. These OTC lists are packed full of property that nobody purchased at the auction. and it's just sitting there, ready for you to buy. I just went through this weekend a whole list of property where there's houses in there for $4,000. And again, I'm sitting there saying, which we're buying.
Yeah.
I can't believe no one, and it's to the public. You just go on the county website.
Those are my
It's
favorite,
sitting
by
there.
the way. I love OTC property.
I know you do. Hey, OCD here.
OCD, OTC.
Attention deficit disorder loves just the easiest way.
Thanks. Thank you.
So I hope that clarifies, at least at the 35,000 foot level, what happens with tax deed investing. We've been doing it long before we ever started sending out. If you're familiar with Land Academy, all we do is send out mail now. But there was a time before that wasn't feasible because the data sets weren't where they needed to be, where real cost wasn't where it is today.
It's true.
And the only place you could get a good data set was from the county, and that's a disaster.
Exactly.
If you've ever gotten a data set from the county, it's a
funny.
total mess. So the answer is do a ton of research and find out. There are a couple states that have tax deed problems that are state centralized. Arkansas is one, and Florida's one. So they don't, for whatever reason, they don't want the counties, or it's just organized that way to manage this process. So it's at the state level. The great news for you is that it's one centrally located place where you can, we buy properties in Arkansas for $25 regularly, and so do our members. Florida's a little bit more complicated, but if you want to just get into the business and see how it works, those two places are a great place to start. Another place that's a good place to start is Michigan. They have an annual online, very well organized, state-driven tax deed auction, and it's all mapped out, and it's beautiful, actually. Jill and I bought property right on Great Lakes one time there. Hey, we know your time is valuable. Thanks for spending it with us today. Join us next time for the episode called The Tax Roll Data Plays in Taxing and Investing Explained.
And we
Actually,
answer
the title is, this is the title.
Okay.
Tax, Lien, Investing Explained.
Okay.
The writer of these scripts, I'm going to talk to him. No, it's me.
I know. And we answer your questions posted on our online community at landinvestors.com. It is free.
You are not alone in your real estate ambition. You're going to ask me a question?
No.
Did you just change your mind or forget?
No, I didn't have one. Did I look like I did?
I don't know.
No, I just started to go. No, I didn't have one.
I love tax deeds, in case you can't tell.
Yes.
I love
really
it.
Glad.
Here's the downside, though. We talked about all the good stuff.
All right.
Let's say all your wishes come true, and you find a county that's got a tax deed list. Maybe you've called them. It's not even posted on the internet. And they said, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm going to dust this thing off. No one's asked me for this in 2 years. And they send it to you. And it's a big, thick IBM red and green and white dot matrix printout.
Yes.
This has literally happened to me recently. And it's half the size of a phone book. And so you can't contain yourself because there's hundreds, probably 10, 15, $20 million profit margin in there. That's the good news. The bad news is it's impossible unless you have a team behind you to start looking up every single one of these properties and see if you want to buy them, see if it's worthy. So now you're analyzing. What Jill and I preach at Land Academy is send out all this stuff, send it out, and have it come back to you. Have the sellers reach out to you, and they're already willing and ready to go. And you can do way more deals that way than you can flipping through a green bar sheet, analyzing every single deal. On the third or fourth sheet, you're going to need some coffee, and you're going to stop. That's what's going to happen. So it takes a lot of organization, and you really need to know the states really well and the counties really well that you're doing this in to know that, oh yeah, I only want to buy an APN scheme 107 or something like that. So this is a good, skip it along the top.
Thank you. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, please subscribe and rate us there. We are Steve and Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.